Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Second Lap. It's your host, Gramps. We are coming to you today, and I'm calling an audible, or I'm pivoting. I'm changing step. We had talked about doing a three-parter of sort of getting to know Gramps, getting to know the host, understanding the why behind the guy. That what I just made that up. And marketing is Ronnie's thing. So if you hear that in any future spots for any customers, remember, it came from me. That being said, that's yeah. I don't even get the zinger thing yet. I'm waiting for it. 38,978 is the total, which is putting me just coming up on 39,000 miles. It blows me away. I have to pause from time to time to say, "Holy shit, that's a lot of shoes. It's a lot of walking, and that's a lot of clearing of your head." So the point today was I'm calling an audible. I am going to very shortly have Ronnie come on. He is my guest. He is the producer. He is, if I was the president, he'd be part of my staff. He'd be part of that council that made sure that I wasn't running into the curb and finding the curb finders. We're going to talk about the military. So come on, Bronny. There we go. Okay, I used to say I needed you to come on. I didn't really get permission. I sort of hit you up with this at the last minute. We're both wearing glasses. I don't even know where I was going to go with that. There was a dad joke in there, but we're hats and glasses. We're half pack of smokes, and we've got it's a Blues Brothers reference. I wanted to talk about the military, and you and I have not the same experience. We did different branches. There is some cohesion. We just started talking about MEPS and the ASVAB and some of the terms that we'll talk about and what that means. But I thought we would tell some stories. I thought we would kind of go through. I know that there's other people that, they hear about the Navy, and it's almost like the same people that hear I lived in Alaska for 9 years, and the first question is, "Did you live in an igloo?" It's like, no. Like we had a house and it was made of wood, and it was like every out. Yeah, I'm trying to make all the jokes up front, and I need to space them out. I'm going to space them out a little bit. Navy stories. We both went to MEPS. You're going to give the folks the visual of standing around. How were we standing around?
Well, there's lots of standing around when in the military. I think the hurry up and wait mentality kind of is beaten into you.
Yes.
So there was plenty of standing in line against the wall in the hallway, not sitting, like standing,
Right.
and just kind of across different places that were just boring to stare at for the most part. And that was probably 60% of your, I want to say, first 2 weeks of any kind of if you were to put it all together, a lot of that is just standing and staring at the back of somebody else's head for a lot of that. So
yeah, they wanted you to be quiet too. So it's not like you were able to socialize. It wasn't like we were getting to become best friends. You were looking at something, and you were not a monk, because they were verbally abusing you from time to time to make sure that you were awake and paying attention. But yeah, there wasn't, we weren't becoming best friends.
No, none of that. And like you had mentioned, I think to kind of give some relevance, and I think we kind of pieced it together right before this, was I started my joining of the Army in I want to say it was like the fall of 2000. And so I was talking with a recruiter. He kind of laid everything out, explained it really well. Shout out to, I think it was Sergeant Green. And so that, at least for me, it was funny because he was like, "Here, you're going to go here. You're going to do this. You're going to stand around here." So I definitely going into whether it was MEPS or into any of the other pieces of this, of where you were going and kind of getting set up before basic was kind of explained pretty thoroughly to me, which I realized very early on wasn't the case for a lot of guys. Everybody else.
I don't know why we're laughing about that out loud, but it felt like we were in the minority. Like I have the same experience you do, and it felt like most people were like, where do I go to the pool? Where's the timeshare? Like what
Yeah.
I wasn't sold this they're shaving my head shit. Like there was definitely gaps.
Well, and I also feel like a lot of them, and I believe this is true with you, had parents that had done military. So at least you had this idea and the stories that they told. So you knew what it was going into it. And I
Right.
think that's probably what we noticed the most was the person who didn't have somebody related to it, like just thought they were joining to do their duty, and then
Right.
like the rugs pulled out from under them, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, what's going on? And so that's where I think a lot of that like craziness comes from, is just there's so many people that just aren't expecting the yelling, the running, the throwing up, the like
The
bad
breaking you
food.
down and building you
Yeah.
back up as a crew. Like they don't tell any of that. I was just going to say what you were describing. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of John Candy and Stripes. Like, hey, you got to show up. I'm gonna, become a lean, mean fighting machine. And it's like, no, that guy lied to you. That's not what's gonna happen.
That, and it's like I said, I'm so thankful that at least I was told like this processing, the kind of the yelling, like you just, and at least for me going into it is like, and anybody that's getting into it, it's like, are you okay with being yelled at and aren't going to break down emotionally? And that's something I think a lot of these people didn't realize going into it. Like
Right.
someone's going to scream at you, someone's going to belittle you. Like, can you handle it? And a lot of people can't. Can you run, and can you like stay in the like downward dog or the plank position for 3 minutes? And so if you can do those three things, I think you can manage and survive. Like it'll be tough, but I think at least for me going into it, it was like, yeah, this is what you're going to deal with, and these are the type of people that are going to be yelling at you, and
Right.
these are the people that you're going to be stuck like either supporting or like relying on, and it's
Right.
going to be who knows from across the country.
So go. Let's go back because I haven't, and we kept all this fresh, so I don't know these things. So I'm going to ask. If I ask anything that's raw, let me know. We can always get with the producer, and he'll pull it out. Did you? Yeah, that's funny because you're the guy. Did you? So for when I went in and I did this, they checked me all out, no heart problems. I was all good to go physically. Then you take this ASVAB, and I can't. It's like vocation aptitude something. I can't remember what it actually stands for, but you took the test and then they basically said, hey, now that you've taken this test, here's your score, and these are the MOS. I can't remember all the different terms for your job function that you could be. Did you have something like you were targeting? Did you like go in and say, hey, this is what I want? Because I didn't. I showed up and I took the test, and I'm like, just like you said, you talked about my dad. We didn't talk about aviation electronics or what he actually did. He was kind of at his wits' end of, this is a kid that has been given everything and just has found a way to get on my last nerve. And now he's figuring this out. And I'm being slightly funny. My dad is going to maybe hear this, but it was time for me to figure it out. Like it was time for me to the proverbial kick in the ass to understand, to be beaten down, realize I'm not the special thing, and come up and be part of the team. But I'm leading the witness. Did you have something that you thought you were going to be, or did they like try to coax you into, hey, this is the job we want you to do because we get a bonus for you signing up for it?
Actually, everything that you mentioned for me was flipped. So I
Okay.
took the ASFAB when I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's essentially like, I don't know if that was kind of it was either a sophomore, I want to say it was the end of my sophomore year. We had to take it collectively. Like everybody just went down and took it.
Right.
Um, didn't think anything of it, like just because it was something to, it was just a test. And I remember it being like, okay, yeah, there's some mechanic pieces that I struggled with, but a lot of the other like problem solving things, like I just made sense and like I could figure it out.
Sure.
So I actually scored really well on the ASFAB and had essentially pick of the litter of what I wanted to do. Um, and I just went in and like, because I joined, so this would have been like I said, the winter of 2000. So I had just graduated high school. Like I took the first semester off. And so I was starting school that January as well. So I was like, yeah, let me figure this out to kind of help with school fees. And so I was like, whoever can give me the most money. And
Right.
so it ended up being psychological ops was the one that was the best sign on, best kind of, they had the most money. I was like, all right, yeah, let's just go here. And he's like,
Did
yeah,
it make any pause that? Does that make any sense to you as this human? Like you hit that and it's like, now that I and you and I know what that means, does it hit you a different way?
no, because I kind of, at least like obviously of understanding more of like what psyop is, yeah, I guess. But I kind of, when I heard it, I knew it then too. Like I just was
Okay.
like, okay, that's a cool, like I want that. It sounded better than anything else around, and
Sure.
was kind of piqued my interest as far as like mystery. Like it was kind of interrogations, but yet you'd be attached as like loudspeaker teams to
Okay.
like light infantry. So there was lots of different places and things that you could do. And eventually we like used our tech skills to kind of create and set up different like prisoner and camp entertainment setups and stuff for
Okay.
Iraqi prisoners. So, and from that, even like I still to this day use some of that tech type stuff. So there always was kind of that, like, this fits my personality, even though I didn't
Sure.
realize it. So, like,
Right.
whether I was groomed for it, I don't know if I was a part of I keep seeing the stuff about well, I'm gonna the
I don't.
gifted program, the gifted and talented
Okay.
program. Like I don't know if you've
Okay.
seen that stuff. So I feel like I was a part of it briefly, but then like wasn't. But it could have been something. Then PSYOP is definitely one of those odd places to be.
I like you scored really well. I don't remember the exact score, but I wanted to say it was like 98 out of 99 or something like that. I did and the same thing. And I didn't have like a destination, and they're all explaining in front of me, and I don't know. I've always been wired. My kids knew this of me. Like I don't I hate to lose. I expect to sort of prevail. And that was sort of I've learned I like losing now, and I like learning the lessons, and I get the growth that comes from it. But back then it was like, I expected to sort of win. And so I looked at it and I watched and it was like the score, like as I'm trying to show it, getting smaller and smaller. Like as the score went up, the the codes or whatever it was for what you could do kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it was like, okay, I want the scarcity. I want the thing that you've got to have this in order to do. So for me, I actually, on the day I took the test and they gave me this and they're like giving this, I signed up for ET, electronic technician nuke. And I was supposed to go be on a submarine, and that was the thing. Like I was all signed up. I went home. I talked with my dad. He was like, "Hey, I had a similar experience, except instead of doing ET, I did AT, which meant I was going to be on airplanes." But then he ended up doing what did they call it? Some sort of a reservist program where he got to go to the full school, like he was 6 months of schooling. But then it took, instead of like a 2-year reservist, he did like 4 or 6 years of, every, 2 days a month. I'm trying to think, the slogan they used to be was like 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year was your obligation. Remember that? You're smart.
Oh,
'Cause
that's exactly
that's how
what yeah. And
that's what they sold you on, and that's what he was sold on. So he was like, told me that, and I actually went back and said, hey, can I change from ET to AT? And they let me, and because I was November to February when I actually went to boot camp, and I was the DEP program because I wanted to go in November, but because of the way and I was 10 years, as you're telling the story, I think I was 10 years forward of you. November of 1990 is when I did all my stuff. And then I went to boot camp in February of 91. So my retirement started from November because they gave you credit for DEP as part of your 8 years of obligation that you had to have full total 8. Anyways, I'm doing all this math stuff and nobody else really cares about math, but yeah, but us.
They made us, the hoops they made us go through for different enlistment time frames.
Right. All the things. Anyway, so I changed to that, and it was because, hey, this is what I wanted to do. I went to school, top of my class, did really well, focused, had a kid like while I was going through this. So like the spoiled, crazy, got married, had a kid, realized there was structure and obligation, and you have to actually do stuff and, follow through, and did really well. And they gave me, and I think I might have told this in one of my stories, they gave me E4 and a advanced schooling that would tack 2 more years on to my obligation. So I would go from 4 years to 6 years, and was really hot shit excited because it's you're a C student out of your own choice of behavior, and then all of a sudden you're top of your class and you're kind of getting like, hey, whatever, and they dangle the carrot in front of you, and I was really excited about it, and I signed the dotted line, and then I lived off base. And I really was a nonconformist. Like you were talking about going to boot camp and doing these things. It wasn't the plank position for me. It was the Jesus position. It was nose against the wall, standing up straight with the arms out. I'm trying to show you the arms side to side. And if it got to the point where, hey, it'd been 10, 12 minutes in my arms, I couldn't feel my fingers, they'd be like, okay, go straight up, Superman. And I'd have to do that for 5 minutes. And then during mail call, that's what I did. I did this, and they would throw the mail through my arms, and I would get I didn't have glasses on at the time, and I would get hit in the face by the edge of the envelope, like just constant, the ear, just in the face, the chin, just anyways, it was one of those things where it was, I want to use the word humbling. Like we were humbled and really taught that we were part of a team. Like nobody in the team is more important than the rest. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think but yet there's still a chain of command, and there's still some sort of responsible party. I think that's what, when you're describing this stuff and being like, I was stuck I ran a really good 2-mile. I'm a former track guy. Like I said, going into basic training for me, it was like, all right, I know I'm going to be yelled at. I can do push-ups for a little while, and I can run really far. And at least in the Army, like that was the baseline for PT that you needed.
Right.
And this is coming off of like really good track. And so for me, I went and ran like the top 2-mile for that first round of PT tests. And so they stuck me in charge of like the bay. I was the bay boss for basic training. So the living quarters, if there was anything dirty, like I was the one that was responsible for that. And I lasted, I want to say, most of basic minus like 3 days when they got mad at me and took that away, but then gave it back to me. So
sure,
having that responsibility for a bunch of knuckleheads, I think was another part of, at least for me, of like, whether it's working a job or working at McDonald's or like whatever it was in the past, I was like, oh, this is even more so of like you're having to like drag everyone along in the same path
Right.
that doesn't want to. So that was at least my experience from the first round. And I did a split option, kind of what you had mentioned and referenced, where I signed up December of 2000. I didn't go to basic training until that summer. And then
Okay.
I did the basic training. And then the following summer, I did the rest of my like PSYOP school. And so
Okay. What'd you do in between?
that
Did you
2 days a month kind of deal,
Okay.
one weekend. And then my 2 weeks was like my training. And so that it kind of worked out a few times. We did like another one was Iraq was one summer. The other one was we did like war games where I went to
Okay.
Louisiana for a week.
I enjoyed war games. That was my favorite part of the squadron. We went to Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base. We did shared a room with friends. We were on per diem. First time that I experienced that, where they gave us the cash, and being new dads, we would. I think we went down and we bought a case of ramen noodles, the big sealed pack, and we had our wok and a rice cooker, and I don't know how many
Classy.
different ways. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how many different ways we could make ramen and rice together with the different flavorings, but we did that. And my best story, since I said we were going to tell some stories, my best story at that point was we got together with the skipper, our commanding officer, CO. He was a commander, and he's telling us the story after we got back from the 3 weeks or whatever it was that we spent in Vegas and doing it. We were doing the war games against them, and he's giving out awards to people and talking about it. And he said, kind of the worst part about it was, I got a call from the base CO, and we were like, and he's like, yeah, your airmen aren't saluting my officers. And he's like, sir, I can't get my airmen to salute my officers. I'm not really sure how I'm going to get them to salute yours, And that was his story that he told us. So, it all of these things and these stories and these things that I'll give and you'll give are what pieced us together and make us who we are today. And some of them are warped. And I think that's what I've kind of gotten as I've done some of the self reflection. And I showed you earlier some of the notes that I put together as we were going to talk about it. I would say more than my dad doing it and more than being, hey, this is what's going to happen and having, medical reasons for it, I would tell you that the psyop for me was watching Top Gun. Like I saw Top Gun, and it's measured in months, I think, between that and me signing up for, I'm going to join the Navy and I'm going to go do this. And I had a motorcycle, and like Pat and I talk about, I had the bomber jacket, the green one that we would sew patches on, and all the the things that
I think that kind of got replayed again with Transformers a little bit, with a lot of like the cool gadgets and the different things that they were
Right.
showcasing through those series. I think was another round of kind of that same thing. I think as you were saying that, I was like, I feel like there might have been maybe a little. For me, I was what, 7, 8 during the first Gulf War, and like Wolf Blitzer, and like
Sure.
seeing whatever was going on and all of that. So at least I think there was this idea of the possibility of something. So that's at least like going into it, I knew I'm like, we're kind of due for something to happen, like when I started. But yeah, I'd seen like The Rock. Like I think that's probably the one that everybody kind of jumps on as far as like
then with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, and Sean Connery as James Bond, as now I'm seeing like all the conspiracies, like he was actually Bond in The Rock. So
okay, that's
like,
that's an interesting storyline. I haven't put that. Yeah. Okay.
His imprisonment for, we can get off topic on this one, but like from Russia with Love, like matches up with him
Okay.
being imprisoned, and so that's when they had him at Alcatraz the first time, but he escaped, and then they got him back later on. So that's
Nice.
at least what they frame as him being.
I'll give you credit when I spread this as a new rumor I've learned.
Sure.
Nice.
So yeah, so to me, like, there was this coolness to it, but for me it's like my dad was in the army, my mom's dad was in. I had heard stories of I think it was my great uncle was
Right.
on like the Arizona during Pearl Harbor, and like when it went down and like what he saw. So it's like I definitely had this background and was always like thinking I was going to kind of probably join, but it wasn't something that was like a priority. I kind of like backed into it. But
Right.
then just as we were talking about like the doing the war game stuff, I ended up doing like lots of print media, and like because that was kind of something that PSYOP does. You either print flyers or like
Sure.
leaflet bombs and different things like that. And then like just as my path has gone, like working in copy centers and doing different kind of graphics. So it's like, man, it's weird of how it's just things have kind of lined up the way they have,
Right.
as far as like having PSYOP training to be a marketer, and just kind of the way that we've thought of different things. So yeah, to
Right.
me, it's not to come full circle on you, but at least that's where like it's weird that it always kind of comes back. But I think kind of what you're getting to is just the like how we had our connection. It's just that like you said, shared misery, shared, you had said weirdness or something, but it's like a deranged weirdness that I think a lot of us have, that just like we get it from other people that have been there or have been
We
sitting.
had exposure.
Yeah.
Right. We had exposure. We were, I can't remember if it was 80 guys in boot camp or if it was 100 guys, but you were like all of a sudden put together. And I want to say like the trash compactor scene in Star Wars, like you were just jammed into this room. And one of the things they used to do to beat us down was they would put us into the barracks and close every orifice, and they would make the walls sweat with us working out and just the temperature rising in the room. And I just remember those kind of things, like you just that's what they did. Like they beat us down, and then I started going through here like the things that I wanted to talk about. Some of the stories. I was on the aircraft carrier, the Kitty Hawk. It was known as the Shitty Kitty. I'm saying that out loud. I did 20 months of sea duty out of just under 4 years of active duty. So I was very heavy in the sea duty side. It was, as you said, it was kind of the first Iraq war. I was off of Desert Shield, I think it was Operation Restore Hope with Somalia, and I was trying to think of the Black Hawk Down. That was one of the notes I was trying to write. My cousin was on or in Somalia when the Black Hawk Down movie scenario happened. So, and I was in a carrier off the coast. So all these things are happening. I did 20 months of sea duty, as I said. Probably the most fun I would say that I ended up having, and I talked about, I think this was Patrick, maybe we were talking. I did got to do a tiger cruise with my dad. So he got to meet me in Hawaii. And in order for us to be able to they had us all sign up, hey, we're doing this. And they had a list together, hey, there's 50 people that are going to do this. So now we need 50 spots. And so they gave 50 people the ability to pack up and fly home and go home basically a week and a half early and not have to ride the rest of the way of the 6-month cruise, the rest of us. And then my dad got to show up, and we did like 6 days of flight ops, and him eating in the mess hall with us and got to see that, and spending time in the room, we call it the shop. Like if the ATAE, aviation electronics, aviation technician, which was ATAE, we shared a shop, and we had two 4-man tables in there, and we could each get two games of spades going at one time instead of talking about cards earlier with you. But they got to spend that time with us and they got to sit in there and got to see the TV and the dumb programs we had to watch and just experience it. And, he's like as grateful as he can be, my dad is, to have this experience. And I'm like, you're having fun? Like this is so shit that we've had to do this for the last 5.5 months. I like can't believe I didn't go home early and I stayed here for you. I'm kind of being funny and laughing as I'm saying it, but I'm partially being serious. Like it was just a completely different experience. And it was kind of one of my first opportunities to understand perspective. Like two people can experience totally different things and they're in the same room.
Yeah, I can't say I have anything close to that kind of experience. Like that feels like one of a kind, especially to have your dad along with to do that. No, I think I've got, I'm trying to even like, not really even shown. We did a lot more like Civil War and different things like when I was younger on our road trips like out east to see different things, whether it was Revolutionary War, Civil War kind of spots.
Right.
So and so that's where I feel like there was some connection to his military past in that way, but otherwise we really didn't kind of have that. I kept like my class A's. He didn't have any. He's like, as soon as he was done, he was done. Like he dumped everything and was like, I'm out of here. Like this is it. So that's where it's like, I can't say we have, I like he was supportive of me joining. Like, I think obviously wasn't thrilled with me having to go to Iraq as any parent wouldn't want. So, but otherwise I think there was, when he tells his stories, I can see some like sense of pride, which is probably why like I ended up joining, just because I knew that there was this piece of him that like made him so structured with the way he does stuff, that I knew kind of came from that, which I knew when I was a teenager, like I was lacking that like structure or thinking about doing that in a way that made sense to me. So that was another kind of factor in like, all right, let me understand why he's doing that. So I think that's, as I've always thought too, it's like my son's born on Veterans Day. Like, is this something that he's gonna like go down the same path? Like, I'm not going to push it in either direction. It's like, I'll be honest with him. Like, these are the things I dealt with, and this is why I am glad, that I'm not. And so I think it's having those conversations with everybody versus like anyone feeling that there's this pressure, because it's like, I didn't feel that except from myself. And so that's at least kind of where it was like, this felt what the right thing to do for me, whether it was financially, patriotically, whatever it was. Like, it was like, okay, this is why I need to go do this.
So Brian and I talked, and he and I sort of jokingly said, yes, I would suggest Air Force, Navy, then sort of in that ranking, just because you're going, as you said, you go to the MEPS, you go to the testing, you go through, and they're testing everybody for all the services, and if you look at it, like I was qualified to do anything I wanted to do, Army, Marines, those kind of things. And you're kind of tailoring it, and I'm trying not to lead the witness, but do you say, Jack, just go Air Force? Or do you say, hey, this is what I did? And, as you said, your unbiased can be detrimental if you don't give them a little bit of like, hey, you could have had this path over here,
Yeah, I don't know if there's a specific one. Like my dad at the like, he'll tell me now, and granted it was something he had mentioned a couple times but didn't press it, was like he was trying to get me to go to West Point. So
Okay.
to like go to like official Army like uh, officer program, and it was like
Right.
it just didn't fit in my narrative at that age, like that I was wanting to do. But to answer your question, at least for me, the first office I went to was the Air Force office, but it was
Okay.
closed. And then I was like, well, let me go check the Army one, and they were open. So it was for me like it was Air Force, Army, and that was only because like again, my dad, my mom's dad, like there was this lineage to Army that drifted me that way. And then it was more like I didn't really want to do Navy, really didn't want to do Marines. Like even Coast Guard was kind of listed. That was like, if I'm going to do, if the Army is going
Right.
to reject me, then I've got some questions to figure out as far as
Sure.
what I'm going to do. So
So your life could have been so much different if the Air Force office would have just been open.
yeah, but I'm obviously I'm wearing glasses, so what I would have wanted to do wouldn't have been the same. So
Okay.
to me, like there was a need for speed, not to jump on the other Tom Cruise
Tom Cruise.
genre, but uh, but yeah, to me it was more like adrenaline, and if I was to do anything, I'd want to fly. But I feel like I that wouldn't have worked out, and then I would have done something else and wouldn't have enjoyed
Same.
it. So that's where I was like, I'm kind of glad I fell into the Army. Like, and then again, it was I've taken the ASVAB within the last 3 years and got to use the my sophomore year score, which was good. And so I was like, okay,
Right.
cool. And then they're like, yeah, you can choose whatever you want. And like, who can give me the most money? So there was not really I'm going to go do this. I need to follow this path.
Right.
I think, but that's what the serendipitous of it all to me is what kind of made it fun and kind of, well, let's see what happens with this. And
Right.
that's kind of always been my personality. And so that's where I was like, yeah, I don't know anything about psychological ops, but I'll go check this out because it sounds cool. I do a lot of things because it's like, when you're 18, it's like it'll look good on a resume, like, or it sounds good when you're telling it at a story or at a party. So I was like, yeah, this fits. It's like I've also been what was it? Given booze on stage by Eartha Kitt like 2 nights in a row. So like there's all these little like statements and different things I've always been like, yeah, like Catwoman like hit on me for 5 minutes. So yeah.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I've already talked about contraband. I was gonna hit a few of these things on speed. We in the Navy, we got beer if you went 45 days at sea. So if you stayed out, you didn't pull in any ports, 45 days you got beer. Um, our skipper wouldn't give us the beer. We went to 52 days and he finally pulled in and he gave everybody two little like the tickets you would do when you would do like a raffle at a high school, whatever. He gave us those and you could get off. And I was a vegetarian at the time. So the most exotic thing I did was put Tabasco sauce on pizza because they had pizza. But I was gonna say I remember I didn't get the beers. I gave those away to friends, got the pizza, and then we got stuck in the UAE. Jebel Ali, I think was the name of the port. We got stuck there for like an extra 2 weeks, I want to say, because every 3 days we would attempt to leave and a sandstorm would mysteriously show up and we couldn't leave. So it like kept us there for weeks. Um, I don't know why I wanted to tell you that story, but one of the things,
You
one of the
you
things that
It's funny because I feel like our versions of contraband are quite different. That's where I think our whether it's our age or our timeline within the military will really show because essentially like contraband it felt like everybody could get whatever they wanted whenever they would like go off base or like get free time. Like there was no policing of that, like really.
Okay.
But it was like the cell phone was the contraband, like having the phone to like communicate and like talk to whoever it was the contraband. And that's it. It felt like a middle school now, like where people are, oh, I gotta let me text so and so, like, or the girl that's over in the other battalion kind of deal. So like that's where contraband like began and started. Like outside of that, it was like getting your civvy clothes and like wanting to put those on was contraband. Like as far as what we were to sneak out and to get away.
We didn't have cell phones in 1991.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, it wasn't, my dad did. Like my dad had a bag phone that he was paying like 50 cents a minute or wherever it was, but the average human didn't have a cell phone. So I specifically can remember, I want to say I made 3 unauthorized or UA phone calls in boot camp from a payphone. So I would run over, somebody would keep guard or watch, make sure that nobody knew, make sure the back door didn't lock and I could get over. And I would go over and I'd get my girlfriend at the time on the phone and I would talk for 6-7 minutes. Hey, I miss you. I'm dying. My heart, I can't get it. Oh, bye. Hang up and then run back. And, and we were using calling cards. So yeah, I'm seeing the 10-year phase and I can't even imagine going to boot camp and having the possibility of there being 80 guys with cell phones, there.
I went to Iraq and bought a cell phone in Kuwait when we landed in 03 and had one like for use. Like when we first stopped at like our original base camp, like the phone didn't work. And I was like, oh, I just wasted all this money. But then we ended up leaving that site and moving to a different location, which was a little farther south, a little closer to Kuwait, a little closer to their cell network, and it ended up working. And so me and my sergeant, and it's funny you mentioned because he was in Somalia during that time too. Him and I would like call our girlfriend and his wife, like at least we had access to it. We were paying like $5 a minute or $8. It was some crazy amount, but we had the ability to call back home, which was nice. And we were the only ones in our unit that had that. So otherwise we had to like go all the way back to base and like get in line in the phone line or like because that was like the first thing when I landed was like, I talked to my buddy like, hey, do you know any local that can get me a phone? Boom, boom. Like it was just kind of like, we have to have this ability to communicate.
Did they still do you buy, I fly? Does that make sense to you?
That sounds familiar.
Like when we were in the carrier, our shop, which I talked about earlier, was up on, call it the 4th deck, and the place that you would go to buy like M&Ms or smokes or magazines or any of the yes. Thank you. I knew there was a name for it. The shop that would take your money and give you the stuff that you would want. Little cookies were the things that I wanted the most. Like these little, anyways, you could look at the guy next to you and say, man, I don't want to run down 3 sets of stairs and through this, whatever. So I'm going to hand you $1 and it's going to give you enough that you're going to be able to get me a Coke, you a Coke, and whatever. Like so you buy, I'm going to buy, you're going to go get it and bring it back.
I'm like, I just used that with my wife the other day, the you buy, like I'll fly kind of deal. But yeah, I that was not really because
things were close. You didn't have to like.
Well, yeah, it's like even if it was in a ship, I get that it's like contained and like it might be harder to get and it's just busier to deal with. Like on base, it's like 3/10 over, like is the PX, and so they're really like if you wanted the one that was 24 hours, you might have to walk a half a mile away, which wasn't the end of the world. So that's at least every place that I'm thinking of where we were at, aside from like that original one. But even then, they ended up like putting a PX in like in a trailer, like right next to us. And so I was
Right.
like, oh, but that was maybe like a month without, but we had gone trips back and did
Sure.
excursions. Sure. So, but yeah, I'd say I feel like it's a lot more common more recently, at least to answer your question, versus military wise.
Sure. I was going to say, any other notes? I wrote about TAD. It's my son's name, Tad, but it's temporary assigned duty. So I did a lot of TAD in the military. I ended up working in I worked in the mess hall and washed dishes on my first cruise. They took the boat when I joined the Navy. When I joined my squadron, they were bringing the boat around the Horn. I can't remember if I talked about this with Pat, and we talked about it. So they went around the Horn. When they did that, they went across the equator. They were then all shellbacks. They all were, red eyes and ready to beat the crap out of the next set of people. And then we went on our cruise, and it was, as I said, kind of the last time before the kindler, gentler military. And they filled up all sorts of things, jugs with biological stuff that they made us drink, and the shillelagh, which was 4 foot of fire hose that they were, smacking our butt cheeks with, and making us swim in these big engine containers. So they would ship plane engines around in these ginormous containers, and then they would put that on the deck, take the engine out, fill it full of liquid, and it almost looked like fruit salad. Like it had all this fruit and food and all this stuff in it, and they make you swim in it. And that was us going across the equator. And we had, I want to say, just more abuse because you had this group that had just gone through. And when you went through one of those hazing events, I think I'm speaking for both of us. But when you went through a hazing event like that, you wanted, like, it was like Newton's law, like, an object will remain in motion till it's acted upon. Like, you wanted to get rid of that energy that had been transferred to you. Like, you wanted to, I at least wanted to, hey, if I beat you, I will feel better about myself. And I'm being kind of funny. I really didn't want to do it. I was done with it. Hey, we're past this. I've checked the box. I got the certificate.
I guess we really didn't have that. It was the only person that was antagonizing us was the drill sergeants. So like that, where there wasn't another class for us. Like, as you're saying, I'm like, there's been little bits of like, not even like, I can't even say that I was hazed. It was like, you're the youngest, or you're the low, you're the E2. So you're the one that's got to go do clean the latrine with the jet fuel and like burn it out. Like that was the essential like hazing event that I would say was just because I was E2.
That's more of a rite of passage, right? That's not like,
so there was no beat down, no like other class. Like even with every other basic class, it was kind of, you were taken and moved on.
How about E4? When you made rank E4, did they tack that on? Were they still allowed to punch you? You couldn't move your arm the next day?
No, that was still talked about, but it wasn't something that was routinely done. Yeah, I think I'd seen it maybe once, but no, they didn't do that to me, thankfully.
It was the worst part about making rank. It's like, I'm going to get you more money. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then I'm going to go to work. And these people that love me and are supposed to be my best people that are going to keep me alive beat the living crap out of my left arm to where I can't even lift my arm, up. And I remember that was for days afterwards.
No, that sounds terrible. No, thankfully, no one wanted to. I think that may have been part of it. Like, it's like I told them. I think it's at least how our setup was. I think if it was something that you wanted, like you could tell because I'm a hard ass, I'm going to do it. Like,
sure,
somebody would have done it for you, but it was more your choice if that's the route you wanted to go for that. But as you were saying, I'm like, I did get to release a little bit of, I don't even know what you call it, but I played the enemy for, so you go to basic training, it's all regular kind of drills. I think the op 4 is the other drill sergeants. It's just
Right.
that's who you're fighting. When you go to AIT, or like the second part for us, that you could have like cadre that would be, whether it's former people or just kind of whoever playing kind of the enemy, like or the spies, whoever. And I got lucky enough to go down and do that one time, where I played like a suicide bomber, or it was like oh, I gotcha, like as soon as we did all this stuff, or ambush, like planning ambushes. And
Right.
there was that's at least kind of the only other time that I dealt with another like class. So
Did you realize you weren't a sociopath at that point? I mean, was there an enlightenment to that experience that, like, hey, I like being the good guy? I mean, anything like that?
I was good at both. So to me, there's no.
I was good at both. Okay.
It's just
I'm
like,
picking you for dodgeball. You're on my dodgeball team.
wherever I'm pointed, like, all right, this is gonna work. And so, no, to me, it was interesting and fun to see how the process at least worked for the teaching wise. So that's really what I took out of it, and that I'm retaining now is like how to train. Like, how do you want somebody? You can sit here and talk about different things, and that's at least the one thing within the Army is that or military in general, is that you had this real world kind of like scenario to run through. And that at least kind of made me think like, okay, yeah, if I do this multiple times and I have an idea, or at least like a framework of these are the steps that I need to do in order for this to work, then it's like, all right, yeah, I can kind of handle whatever, as long as I know how this works, how this machine works, how this is going to kind of, whether it's this AI tool or like this 50 cal, like, do I know how to use this in a way that's going to be beneficial to me for my outcome? And so there's always little pieces in life from different, like whether it's McDonald's or wherever else that I've worked, it's like there are some major life lessons that you learn.
Nuggets.
At all of these different paths along your life. So don't think that just because you feel like you're stuck in this avenue, it's like you're there for a reason. And it's whether you've been there for a long time, maybe it's because you haven't opened your idea to the reason why you're there. So be open-minded to a lot of different things. And I think that's what we were talking about with the connection, is there's more this open-mindedness within the military realm of like, yeah, I can get that done. And so it's just because we've done it, we've been forced to do it, we've been forced to say that we'll get it done. So that's where I think there's just kind of this alignment when we get around other people that have this similar kind of like, yep, we can do this. And that's where it's like you see a lot of entrepreneurs, you see a lot of just, at least within like the Gary V community and the V friends, it's like I see very similar kind of, whether it's you're artistic, but yet you have this like natural want to create something to make things better. And so there's lots of that. And I think whether it bleeds into kind of where somebody who has a military background is like, yeah, let's figure out how to figure that out. Let's get a plan in place. And that's where a lot of this comes from too.
Where's your head? I put on one of my notes that you were able to see, so you've seen this already. Where's your head with, something maybe like some sort of a public service, civil service, something that everybody that's a citizen sort of goes through, Peace Corps, military, something that just gives you that exposure. I mean, is that something that you'd be for? Do you think that college does that for some people? So, we're pushing them into something that, I don't know, is that too restrictive?
I don't think you need to do a military, or obviously I think doing something of service for others in a way that, and obviously people will argue that the military isn't that, and there's whatever it might be. I think in general, traveling to a place that you wouldn't normally have gone to and seeing how the world is working there is an eye-opening experience as far as like your place in this world. I
Yep.
think you need to view it, whether it's you've been in the same small town your whole life, or you've been in the same metro area and you just haven't left, or you've only kind of gone to one or two cities. I think you, like, I'm sitting here, I've got a 6-7 day road trip plan that go across the down to Texas. And to me, I'm excited to see not only the places, but like what things are going to jump out to me. Like, what, for whatever reason, am I going to be excited that I'm driving past that maybe I want to get the drone up, or that I'm just going to like catches my eye that makes me laugh. So that's where I think all of those pieces of trying to get to know yourself and understand who you are, I think traveling brings that out. Like, there's,
Yep.
because of your, whether it's, especially if you're doing it on your own, and it's always funny, like if you're going to do it with a girlfriend or a wife, I feel like you're in line for like an Amazing Race like argument. Like, there's going to be some sort of bickering within that travel. So I think if you're able and willing to do it on your own, and just like, I can't say I went across to Iraq by myself, but it's like,
Right.
in essence, there was no family, like true family, real friends that I kind of had bonded with before. Obviously, if I'd gone again, like, there'd be that. But I think
Right.
even with traveling or doing different things, of just you gotta get out of your parents' shadow, your husband or your wife's kind of shadow, do your own thing on your own, go see a movie by yourself. Like, and
Yep.
I think that's sometimes really hard for a lot of people. And it's like, man, it gives you that kind of independence that you don't realize. Like, I was like, just pretend you're a critic, like that you're doing a movie critic, and that's why you're there. So
Well, there's all these cliches and these words of advice, and they boil it down to like, how can you love someone else if you can't love yourself? Like, you hear those things, and just like you just said, if you don't go experience these things, you can't grow, you can't, be able to understand. And no, I hear you. I think if I was given advice to anybody that's still listening to us after 58 minutes, I would say, you don't know what you don't know. And that was like one of the largest lessons I learned of 2017. I think it was the year I used that slogan all year long. Just because it was amazing to me to think about, you think in this box of the stuff, like that you've been exposed to. And it's like there's this real cool shit. And I'm trying to show you off camera, but I'm backwards with the alignment, and I keep going the wrong way. It's like I'm pitching yaw on I'm in an airplane and I'm going the wrong way. I can't help you. That that is on the right side of my head, but it's on the left side of the screen. So it's just messing me up. You don't know what you don't know, and going out and experiencing, as you said, go to a movie by yourself, have some popcorn. I have a pastor of my kids' church out in North Carolina, and he gets it's like the unlimited movie year pass, and he goes and sees a movie a week by himself every week. And it's his kind of thing. Is this decompresses, gets to see other things, gets to see life through the psyop, gets to hear the messages that his his people are seeing when they go see the movie, gets to kind of experience that whole thing. And we're all human too, so you might find that you like something else anyway. So it's really good. And I think the message we're giving to the people, as I said, that are still listening, is go experiment, go do different things, go try things that make you feel just slightly uncomfortable in the pit of your stomach here. and you're probably doing something that's going to give you some personal growth.
No, that's for sure. I've got a presentation and just getting in front of people. I think everybody has that anxiety, but to me, it's always something that I know within 15 seconds of me talking, like things are fine. And so it's always, whether it's you do something in a repetition that you're scared of because you have these past experiences like built up in doing it, that's what's going to essentially make it easier. So it's like you have to kind of jump in, swim in the deep end, figure it out. But it's, you got to do that first one is the key to say like, all right, I'm going to try this. I'm going to see how this goes. And yeah, that's usually the hardest part is just that first jump.
That first step, take that first step. Thank you for doing the pivot and the show today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Shout out Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Boot Camp San Diego, and then I was in Millington, Tennessee, and then ultimately out of San Diego. So
I did sergeant school at Camp Williams, Utah in the snow. So
Sergeant. Would you like me to call you Sarge? Is that?
No, you don't need to do
No? Okay. All right. Just checking. I found earlier because my buddy Kelly, who was on the show, he was also a sergeant. And I started saying, I'm like, I always send him the emoji of the salute.
Is E5 Sergeant West? No.
I was never one of those. So for us, in the last story I'll give you, black shoe, brown shoe. I was a brown shoe, which was Airedale, the air side of the Navy. Black shoe was the ship, the ship's company, submarine, that kind of side, and I was a brown shoe. So I don't know where I was going with that. I've hit it. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
You too. I will see you later.
Take care.
Bye. I gotta end it.